Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous 8-pointed quilt block out of crocheted granny squares. I'm going to show you how to make these really cute half and half squares, as well as these solid versions that we'll use for the corner. It needs, or this pattern for the 8-pointed star, we'll need 12 of these half and half squares, and we will need 4 solid squares. I'm going to be using a size G hook for my DK weight yarn. You can use whichever hook is appropriate for the yarn you're using. You'll also need some scissors, and then of course yarn. I'm using Happy Place from Hobie with their collaboration with Tony Lipsy. So let's get started. All right, today I'm going to show you how to make the 8-pointed quilt block with crochet, and we're going to need 16 of these half and half two-tone, see if I can get it focused, there we go, squares, and then we're going to need 4 of these solid squares. So let's start with the solid ones today. You can change the scale of your quilt block by how large you make each of your granny squares. For the one that we're making today, I'm going to be doing 2 rounds of double crochet and 1 round of single crochet. I'm using a DK weight yarn. This is Happy Place from TL Yarn Crafts and Hobie. They did a collaboration together. I really have liked working with it, and it's going to be perfect for this project. So I always start my granny squares with a slip knot, a knotted slip knot. You could use magic loop, you could chain 3 and close it, whatever preferred method you use for your granny squares. So I'm going to start with chain 3. Let's see if I can get it to focus. I'm using my camera a little differently than I normally do. Here we go. And then I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that first chain right there. Some people do this where they count that 2 chain up as their first double crochet. I like the look of it better, not counting it as my first. All right, so I've got my first cluster there. I'm going to chain 3 for my first corner. And again, whatever method you usually do, some people chain 2. Now I'm going to go back in that first one, do 3 more double crochets for my second cluster. I'm also kind of crocheting over my end there. And then I'm going to make my next corner by chaining 3. And then my next cluster, double crocheting 3 right there. One of the things that I really like about this yarn is that it's a 50-50 cotton and wool, so it just has a great feel to it. It's very, very soft. I'm going to chain 3 for my next corner. Do my last cluster of 3 double crochets right here. And then I'm going to do my last corner of 3 chains. All right, and now that I'm done with that, I'm going to slip stitch right into my first stitch right there. Okay, and then I'm going to start my second round. So I'm going to chain 2 up, and then I'm going to double crochet on top of each double crochet from the row below. And then in the corners, I'm going to do 2 double crochet. There's my first corner, so 2 double crochet, chain 3, and then 2 more double crochet. And then I'm just going to repeat that all the way around. The colors that I'm using today are almond for this kind of cream color, and hunter green for my contrast color. So I'm going to continue this all the way around. Remember 2 for each side of your corner. I found that if I do 3, like a cluster, when it's a solid granny square like this, that it just gets too frilly on the ends, like it's too many stitches. There's not enough room for them to go anywhere. And this hook, I get lots of great questions about this hook. I used to be a teacher, so when I saw this online, it really spoke to me. This is from Hooks by Holtby. See if it'll focus on that, or if it's still trying to focus on the yarn. She's on Etsy. She also has these really cute Sharpie ones and crayon ones. I was a high school teacher, so the pencil seemed to make the most sense for me, but those crayon ones are also really, really cute. All right, and now that I'm almost done for my last, for the last round, so we've done our first round, and then we did our second round of double crochet for our solid granny square. For the last round, we're gonna do a round of single crochet. For each stitch below, or for each double crochet below, we're gonna do 1 single crochet, and then the corner we'll do 3. And those are 2. Now, if you wanted to make yours bigger, you totally could, if you wanted a bigger format for your granny square. But I'll meet you right back here after we do our last round, single crocheting all the way around, and we're gonna do 3 in each corner. Okay, so I've gone around my solid granny square and did a row of single crochet, and for me that just makes it look a little bit more finished, and it makes it easier to seam them together at the end. So I've gone, for every double crochet in the row below, I've put 1 single crochet, and then in the corners I've got 3. So now I'm almost back to the beginning. This is my last single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch that I did on my round right there, and I'm actually going to slip stitch all the way to the end so that I can leave a long tail for seaming. The 4 solid color solid granny squares are all going to be in the corners of my 8-pointed star, so all of them I'll need a tail for seaming. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this and then pull it through. So now I've got my 4 solid granny squares, and then I'm going to do my last 2-tone half and half. So for these, I've started all of them with the green, so I'm going to do that. I say that, I might have actually started these with the cream. We'll start with the green for this one. This green, I believe, is called Hunter Green from the Happy Place yarn, and it's really, really pretty. So I'm going to start it the same way that I started the other one. Again, your preferred way of starting a granny square will work just fine. I'm going to put a knot in it, slip knot, chain 3, and then I'll do my first 2 clusters, as well as the corner that goes in between. So that's 3 double crochets in the center, chain 3, and 3 double crochets in the center again, kind of crocheting over my tail, just so everything is nice and secure. And then I'm going to get ready to switch to the other color. So I'm going to chain 2 to start my corner, and then I'm going to take the cream, or actually I believe this is the almond colorway. Go ahead and take that after I get it all lined up, and then finish that 3rd chain with the cream, pull it closed. So I've added in my yarn right there, and then I'm going to start my next cluster with the cream. So I'm crocheting right over, hold it back so you can see a little bit, right over the tail of the cream yarn or the almond yarn. And I'm also crocheting over the green. So I'm going to finish off my square with the almond color. So I did my corner with my chain 3, and then finishing up my last cluster right there in the middle. I'm going to chain 3, 2, 3. Actually, because I'm finishing, anytime that you are working on a corner where you're switching colors, I find it's easier to do that last chain in the new color. So let me pick up the green yarn again, finish it off, because when I slip stitch to finish my square, I want to have the green be what's on top. So I'm gonna hold my working almond yarn kind of up here and then pull the green up and over it and then chain up 2. All right, and so I'm going to be working around the corner the same way all the way around, and I will show you more of how to do that in just a minute. Okay, so as we go around our granny square, we're going to be tucking the contrast yarn into our stitches. So I'm going to crochet right over the top of that. And you can kind of see it right there at the bottom, but it's very, very subtle. So when I get to this first corner, I've double crocheted over the first 3 stitches of my cluster. I'm going to do this corner as normal while still holding that yarn underneath it. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 more double crochets, and then going right over the top of these clusters. So 1, 2, and 3. Now this is where we're going to have to do our first 2-tone corner. So the first part of the corner I'll do like I did before. So I'll do 2 double crochets with the yarn I'm currently working with. I will then chain 1, 2, and then for that third one, that's when I'm going to switch to the almond color, just like we did on our first round. And then now I'm going to be working with the almond color over the green. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets to finish that corner. And then I'll be working that way all the way around. So I'm going to be covering up the green yarn now with my almond color. After we finish that cluster, we're going to go and do our normal solid color corner for the almond, chain 3, two more, oh, it looks so pretty. And then we will continue. Again, we're crocheting over the green, and you can see it a little bit more here where we've crocheted over the green. It always shows up a little bit more when you're crocheting a light color over a dark color, but really it is not noticeable in a final project. All right, so then we've got one more 2-tone corner. We're going to do it the same as we did last time. So we're going to do 2 in our working color, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2, Finish that chain off with our next color, and then crochet 2 more to finish our square. And then I'll show you how we do, I'm going to slip stitch to close, and then I'll show you how we do the single crochet round to finish this off. Single crochet row, and then I'm going to be single crocheting right over our cream yarn. So we're going to do it very similarly to how we did the last round, where every time we get to a corner, so like this one is a solid corner, we're going to just continue with what we're doing. We're going to do 3 single crochets into that corner, doing it right over the top of our almond colored yarn. Continuing with the green all the way around. And this is another like personal preference thing. I like having single crochets, especially in the corners, to seam into when I do quilt blocks like this, but you could definitely do it with just double crochets. All right, so now that we're at a half and half corner or a 2-tone corner, we're going to do the first 2 stitches in the color that we're already working with, and we're going to finish that second stitch in the new color. So then we're going to pull the green forward, and then we're going to crochet with the cream over the green, or the I keep calling it cream. I think the technical name for this, the colorway, is almond. We're going to do that right over. And again, the green will show through the almond color more than the almond color show through the green, but in a project, it really isn't that noticeable. And it allows you to get a high contrast. So this is another solid corner. We're going to do our 3 single crochets in this corner, and then keep right on rocking till we get to our last corner. And then we'll do that almost the exact same way. However, since this is our last round, we are going to do one slight change. So do the first 2, and then instead of, we're going to finish that second one with our new color. Instead of crocheting back over the cream, we're just going to drop it because we won't need it anymore. So doing that third one there, and then the last 2 single crochets. We're not crocheting over anything. See, we dropped it right there. We're going to slip stitch into our first one, and then I think I'm actually going to leave a tail on this one, so I'm going to slip stitch into my corner. I find it's easier to leave a tail on the squares that I'm working on instead of going through and adding like a continuous piece of yarn to seam it together. Completely your choice. Again, personal preference there. So I'm gonna leave a tail long enough for seaming my crazy tangled yarn, snip it, pull it through this loop, snip the cream, and weave in my ends, and I'll show you how to set up your 8-pointed star right after I do that. Okay, so to kind of build your quilt block, you're going to start with a pinwheel shape in the middle. You want to make sure that they kind of are all facing the same direction. I have a tutorial for how to adjust the pinwheel quilt square. And then because we're doing an 8-pointed star this week, I'm trying to keep all of my little ends kind of tucked under so you still get to see everything. Huh. Might actually need to turn that. There you go. So for the rest of the star, you're going to take your other 2-tone granny squares, and you're going to make sure that the you kind of have a contrast triangle pointing towards the middle. So you're gonna make sure that the green sides are kind of facing in, I guess, and then the contrast color is making an arrow that points towards the middle. So we're gonna do the same at the top. Then the sides. And again, I have all of these little strings. You could totally do this with like a continuous seaming method. You might prefer that, but I like doing it this way because it's a little bit more, I don't know, potato chippy, where I can do a little bit at a time. There's that side. And then there is this side. Okay, there we go. And I think in the beginning of the video, hopefully I have already corrected it in the description part of saying that you would need to have 16 squares, but you do not need 16. You need 12 for the middle part. And then you need 4 for the corners. So those are easy. Those just go right here and right here. All right, so now that you can, hopefully you can see, I'm trying to make sure that I've got enough room on this camera for you to see everything. Now we're gonna seam it all up and I will meet you right back here. And just like that, it is all done. So I use the mattress stitch method to seam all of these together and it looks really, really good. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what would you make with this 8-pointed quilt star? Thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.